because in the end, kids don't really want to question you all the time. I don't think most kids want to sit there and rebel. I don't really do. I think most kids want to understand it. And if they don't understand it, they want to be able to ask questions. And they want to feel like their questions are heard and that they matter and that they're seen. Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world. Okay, here we go. We thought this was going to be a one episode topic, but it's such a good one. It's turning into a multiple episode topic. Before we start though, I do have a question for you. What did the llama say to his date? Do you know?
I don't.
Oh, he said, "Do you want to go on a picnic? Alpaca lunch."
I really don't think we should mix these in with the topics that we are discussing on the podcast.
That one's fantastic. That's one of the best ones we've done.
Mm-hmm. Now you invite me out on a date and you'll pack the lunch.
Alpaca lunch.
If I make it the night before.
Oh, gosh. So we're talking more about conversations and preparation, right? And then how to communicate, get on the same page, and then moving into the topic. And again, I can't encourage this enough, you guys. We're like beating this topic, here. We're really hammering it in, and because you almost have to make this a lifestyle to do this, or you literally are going to be on cruise control of whatever you learned, which may or may not have been the most healthy thing. It's just what you know, right? Because it's so funny. We're talking about the car thing for the twins. Really the triplets, coming up, because they're all almost the same age. And it's interesting because, we're very aware of this, but still it's wild. Like I'm literally pulling everything about my past experience into our conversation, the way that I did it, the way that I saw it. And because it kind of worked, we probably should add some of that in, but then you have to take a step back and be like, okay, I need to hear how your side worked. What did you guys do? And then filter them both out and be like, all right, but what do we really want for our kids? What does it mean for today's world versus when you and I were there in that season, which was a long time ago now. I'm 49 years old. This is 4 years ago, right? When I was 15 and starting to learn this stuff. So the world is a completely different place. And so that's why I think like normals from your childhood can be super dangerous if you don't bring some awareness to the fact that everything's different now, right? Would you agree?
Right. And I think too, remembering that, with this whole conversation, we're not living in fear. You know what I mean? It's not a fear factor thing. Like I don't want my children to grow up and get an opportunity to go and kind of explore the world, and one avenue is through driving on their own. I mean, we're very passionate for preparing our kids to go out and enjoy all that life has for them. But with that comes conversations so that when the time comes, everybody that needs to have those conversations feels open to have them.
Yeah.
And that all perspectives are brought into consideration. And then together, collectively, we come up with the best decision that we can both feel good about. And then from there, we move it on to our kids.
Yeah.
Because, you could make a decision and just say, well, you know what? It worked out okay for me, hon. So let's just do it my parents' way. I mean, I'll tweak a few things, but let's just trust me. I got this.
Yeah. Or what's the big deal? It worked for us. It's all going to work out. I mean, they're kids. They get to go through some mistakes. They have to figure this out and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, okay. But the mistakes I would have made back then are a lot different than what could happen here. Because the mistake now could be that you're not mature enough to handle it, and everybody's on the road with their cell phones in their hand, and you get in a car wreck, and again, it's not a fear factor, but it's like an extra consideration that needs to be taken in, right?
Right. And the consideration that both mom and dad have to be on the same page. So when the kids are leaving, there isn't this anger about it or resentment about it. Like,
Sure.
that's, I think, one of the biggest things with decision making that we're trying to figure out as parents all the time is, when the kids were young and I was making a decision or you were making a decision, they were simple decisions. What time you were taking a nap or what time you're eating lunch or, what time the babysitter's coming over or whatever the case may be. They're simple decisions, but they get more complicated as, independence opportunities arise. We have to all be in a position where we feel comfortable with them and not perfect. I think every mom and dad can probably attest the first time your kid probably gets in the car and takes off, even if they have to be home at 10, you're hoping they're home by 8. You know what I mean? Like, and you're not like comfortably enjoying a peaceful night until they get home. You know what I mean? I can
Jeez.
only guess at this point how that's going to be. But with that comes the piece that you trust them and that it's going to be okay. And when they do get home, they're going to tell you something neat that they did and that you're going to be able to enjoy those times together instead of angered because maybe the two of you weren't on the same page of when the timing was for that.
Funny story about that. I remember the very first time. Do you remember your first time that you drove
Oh,
away
yeah.
without, any parent or anybody
yeah.
with you? I remember I drove away. It was a nice day. It was probably late May. 'Cause my birthday's May 14th. So it's probably late May, early June, end of the school year. And I remember driving up towards school. School was just getting, I think I had a half day for some reason. I had something going on, an appointment or something like that, right? So I wasn't in school the second half. And I'm driving up right about the time school's getting out because the cool routine in our teeny little, podunk town out in the middle of the cornfields was after school. A lot of the times the kids would just drive down the main road, which is like a mile long, and then kind of circle through and come back around. And it was just like, you do like 3 laps and you always wave at each other in cool ways and stuff like that, right? Every now and then you might stop at the local like car wash and in the parking lot and talk for a few minutes. And, so this was the thing. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is my first time. I'm going to be one of the kids. I'm not riding with someone. I get to go do this, so I'm all excited. The window's down. I'm just like, I remember feeling so free and just like, I get over by the high school and all of a sudden I see all these cars and they're pulling into our local park. And I'm just like, that's weird. What's going on? Like they're all going there. So sure enough, I just like, okay, I go over there, I pull in. Guess what was happening? A fist fight. So somebody got mad at each other in school. They said, I'll meet you in the park. They all went over there. I pull in and all of a sudden these kids are like fighting out in this park. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God. What if they go roll over on my car? What if they dent the hood? Because they're like all over the place wrestling and stuff. What the heck's going on? I wanted to go cruising. What are we doing here? So,
You probably got out of there and went and did your own thing, didn't you?
I left before the fight got
Yeah, I
over, for
bet.
sure. Because then I'm thinking, okay, cops are probably going to come or something. And how does that work? Now that I'm driving myself,
A lot of things going on the first time.
Yeah, that was my town. But anyways, so...
Yeah. And I think not just talking about car riding, because that's just what we're talking about. I think that, good conversations all the time about each season is important. Each season as you bring in something new, being on the same page with it. I remember when we discussed when the right time was for our kids to get a phone. You know what I mean? Like what that looked like, what the rules look like for our house, what kind of phone we were going to get, that kind of stuff. And again, it's not that our kids are showing any signs of, not being trustworthy, not that we can't give them an opportunity to converse with their friends on a phone, whatever the case may be. But protection is still there because we have to remember, like, they're young. They don't understand what they don't understand yet. Mm-hmm. They don't understand how big the world is sometimes. And maybe we didn't either back in the day. And it's probably why we got in trouble sometimes. Thank goodness some of the trouble we did, it was a little more, I don't know, maybe not as big because we came from smaller things and the world wasn't as crazy back then. But today, I think our kids do need protection with opportunities to exhibit freedom. Mm-hmm. And so when we can't give them chances to exhibit freedom, we love giving those chances. Our kids have stepped up every time we give them chances to go and do something that is stretching, new, different, invited somewhere, going somewhere without us, doing something without us, you know what I mean? Whatever it may be. It's been nothing but a good experience so far. But we know some of the hard experiences are going to come too. And we're just trying to have things prepared to the best of our ability to know how we're going to handle them when those times come.
Yeah, it's not about being perfect. It's about being prepared best we
Yep.
can. And but yeah, it really does matter. And and even to speak a little bit to what you were just saying about not letting resentment build up, and not even just between us, but even I could see with one of our twins, let's say about the driving thing. So if we don't have a clear philosophy on this that we figure out and then we present it and communicate it really well to her with a reasoning behind it, I think that's one reason why we get so much buy-in from our kids, is because we don't just say, hey, you have to do this because we said so. We're always like, no, we're going to do it this way, but we're going to explain to you why. And we take the time and then they lock that in. That way it saves us from the issues of, okay, but my friend over here is doing it this way. Because whenever those kind of thoughts come up, we're like, yeah, but is their philosophy this? Have they thought it through because of this? And we can always really defend our philosophy really well because we take the time on the front end to communicate it so well. Makes sense?
Right. And answer the questions. I mean, we can communicate it as best of our ability can, but there's always questions.
Yeah.
There are always questions. And for us, we personally enjoy the questions. It gives us an opportunity to even, think it through from their mindset, not just ours, because like most parents, we think we know everything, right? We quickly learn we don't, but we think we do at least. And we think that, well, because we know what's best, quote unquote, that, they should just go with it.
Yeah.
And, you can have that mentality. I mean, in your household, a lot that happened where it was like, you didn't really get an explanation. This was just the rule, and you walked away very confused,
And I'm a very logical thinker, and I kind of have that strategic mindset is one of my strengths. And so then I would always overthink their decisions. But then because I would get any answers, then I would just kind of, in my own immature mind, fill in the answers I thought, which then would create like resentment and rebellion. Right. And then because if I heard somebody else have a different philosophy that kind of lined up with my immature way of thinking, then I'm like, you see, that makes sense. Right. I'm not the only one. And then it creates that division.
Right. And so that's one of the things we're trying to prevent with our kids. And also, so when they are questioned, obviously, as they have, gotten older and they have other friends now and stuff like that, people are like, well, how come you didn't get to get a phone until blank? Or how come you don't get to drive until blank? Or how come you don't get to go do blank? You know what I mean? Like, they don't have to be like, I don't know, let me go check with my mom and dad again. You know what I mean? They can just say, you know what, for our standard, for our family, this is kind of the rule. This is how my parents explained it to us. And this is how we've been taught that it works best for us. And most times when their friends hear it, they're just like, oh, well, that's cool. Every family's kind of different, huh? And they're like, yeah, and I think that's the cool thing is that no parent has to parent the same as somebody else, that we all can do it according to what's best for our situations. But being able to explain that to your kids allows your kids to feel confident that mom and dad are making the best decisions for your household. Because in the end, kids don't really want to question you all the time. I don't think most kids want to sit there and rebel. I don't really do. I think most kids want to understand it. And if they don't understand it, they want to be able to ask questions. And they want to feel like their questions are heard and that they matter and that they're seen. And when they feel that way, and then you say, yeah, and so right now this is still our rule. This is what we're going to do right now. They can say, okay, mom and dad, I might not totally understand, but I respect what you're doing. And so I'll follow it. And then it gives us all an opportunity to grow together when that happens.
Yeah. And it's, and the thing is like, if your kids, I've kind of just experienced with our kids, if you promote rebellion as almost like a fun or positive thing, then you find them almost trying to do it. And I caught myself with this because a lot of times with my upbringing, there was a lot of rebellion in there and it led to a lot of funny stories sometimes. But then sometimes what would happen is the kids would enjoy these and they would think they're hilarious. But then all of a sudden they're trying to create their own stories, that are kind of quirky and rebellious like this. And we're like, okay, I gotta package this a little bit differently. Not that we don't want to tell them, but it was more of like telling our stories and then almost explaining like, okay, but let's just explain how this was different than how you guys are growing up. And you're not hearing the negative side of some of this stuff too. And, having to really go a little bit deeper with it if we're going to tell some of those things, right?
Taking the time for that.
Yeah.
I noticed too, it was so funny this week, Hunter was joking around with her siblings. And I think they were asking her to do something. And then she was kind of saying no to them, and then they were asking her and she said no. And Abby said, I kind of got after her because they were watching her at the time. They were babysitting her or whatever. And she goes, but then Mom, it dawned on me. She sees how we do that to each other. Mm-hmm. We had a joke, say no, do something different, whatever. She goes, and so she's just doing what we do.
Right.
I said, that's exactly true.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, should she listen? Absolutely. But do you guys listen to each other? I hear you guys all the time questioning if what that person said was real or not. You know what I mean? Because you don't know if they're joking or if they're being serious or whatever the case may be. You guys, jokingly say no to each other and then giggle and not do it. And she thinks, oh, well, that's what I'll do. They're telling me to go take a nap, but I'll just giggle and say no and run and grab my doll.
Right.
I'm like, so even at all ages, everybody is, joking is joking, but we also have to be aware of like, when we are taking something serious, we got to take it serious.
Yeah. Good stuff, baby.
Yeah.
I love you. We got to have this conversation with vehicles.
Yeah. I think the game plan for the whole thing is, like you said, having these conversations so that when we do sit down with the kids, we're just on the same page. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. We got to do this soon because 15 in March. Is that nuts?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I don't think I'm old enough to have a 15-year-old.
You for sure don't look it.
Thanks, son.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. And we have great news. You get more of us. You can expect new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. So be sure to consistently tune in with us and enjoy our show. See you next time.